Hello, everyone, and welcome. When you're in a relationship, and I mean any type of relationship, there are times that we may feel frustrated or unloved, maybe unappreciated, and perhaps even disrespected. It's normal. But if this happens to you quite a bit and you just don't speak up, then it might be time for you to think about setting up some boundaries. Because if you know how to do them in a constructive way, from a loving place, you'll find that people don't get angry and they don't get defensive. And actually, you'll feel more empowered. And not only that, but the relationship itself will more than likely get much stronger. Hello, I'm Carol Deshane, your intuitive spiritual guide for practical matters and certified narcotics energy recalibration practitioner. When I talk about relationships, I mean all kinds of relationships. We have brothers and sisters. We have mother-father relationships. We have significant other, boyfriend, girlfriend, spouse, partner. We also have neighbors that you like and neighbors you don't like. There are people on the transit system, if you take that. There are fellow drivers that you don't even talk to that you might be in a relationship with. And let's not forget your boss or your fellow employees. Or perhaps you're the boss and you have employees. And there are also, of course, your friends, those that you think of as close friends, and those that think that you are a close friend and you really aren't, from your point of view. And if people say, oh, I don't have relationships, beg to differ, because every single person we talk to, we're in a relationship with of some sort or other. You may not want to share yourself or get close to that person, but that doesn't mean you're not in some sort of a relationship with them. So when you leave a room with one of these people and they matter to you, I mean, in most cases, if they don't matter, you get a little frustrated, you write them off. But if you feel frustrated with somebody you see all the time, and you should have said something, but you didn't about what they said or what they did, that's when we get a little bent out of shape and when things don't feel right. And it's because your expectations of what you wanted from this person or this relationship has been disappointed in some way. You didn't speak your truth of what you wanted, so you get annoyed with yourself or with them. And granted, some people are harder than others. They are difficult to maybe speak your truth around. You like bosses, if you have a mother or father, that can be difficult. They may be the ones that you're thinking about, wondering. And sometimes it may be your significant other that you have to be extra careful with. But they can all be spoken to in a way that helps you set a boundary to make things better. You might say, Carol, I've tried this. It didn't go so well. And I hear you because I understand that a lot of times we're all set up, we are a specific way in our life, and then all of a sudden we go the opposite. So you never speak your truth, and then out of nowhere, you'll start telling people what you think and what you want. You went from 0 to 100 to them. What you're seeing, and from your point of view, is, for example, if you were a pot and you had water in you, and this person started annoying you or doing things they shouldn't do, the water start boiling. You'd start feeling more and more annoyed with this person. And finally, the water would overflow the pot and you'd have a mess all over your stove because you are just so annoyed with them. And that makes sense to you. But if you're the other person, they may see the pot on the stove because they're looking at you, but they don't know that that water is bubbling. They don't know the burner's even on. They think you're just going along being fine. And when you suddenly boil over, they go, what the heck happened? You didn't even say anything to me. Why are you so upset? Or why are you yelling? Or why are you so mean to me? Or why did you say that? So when that happens, and it's totally human to flip suddenly if you want to change a habit or change something that's happening to you, but you need to maybe perhaps try it a little sooner before you get to the point where you can't control how your reaction is because you're just so done with this thing. So start maybe at 50%, starting to think about whether you should tell the person or not. Because I know a lot of times we think we can handle it on our own and we don't need to bother them. I can deal with this. It's no problem. I can deal with it. And then we get to a point where we can't. So we have to tell them. So all I'm saying is if you do this, it's great that you've tried. But be aware you may need to start telling them just a little bit sooner. And the more you practice it, the easier it will get. So now let's talk about the loving relationships, the people that you know love you, whether it's your mother, your father, your best friend, or the significant other. Because first, you need to tell them what you want from the relationship if things aren't happy for you. Now, the first thing, even before that, is you have to know what you want from them. You need to know what would make you happy and what would make the relationship better, or there's no real reason to even speak up and say anything to them. So after you think about it and you cogitate a bit and you go, well, you know what would make me really happy in this, for example, a partnership kind of thing, I mean, a loving relationship, you might say, yeah, what I really want is, I don't care how old-fashioned it is, I want flowers once a week or once a month, maybe once a week is too much. Or I want to go out on a date. You know, people say it always makes you stronger. And if you have kids, going out on a date once a week, once every other week, maybe that's what you want. Or maybe you just want them to take the garbage out. And what I kind of recommend for people is that they think about how they would want to be told these things. You don't want to be attacking. You don't want to be whiny or pleading, or you want to say something that you would want to hear. Something like, you know, honey, what would make me really happy is if, what would make me feel really loved is, and I have to tell you, especially ladies, men like to make us happy. They don't want to have to think about it that hard. So if you're giving them something on a silver platter and you say, you know what would make me happy, they're going to go, wait, what? You're going to tell me? Because we kind of expect people to read our minds, especially those in loving relationships with us, especially the opposite sex or the same sex, depending on, you know, who you love. But we kind of expect them to read our mind. And maybe you've been around together 20 years, that might work. But my idea of what would make you feel loved may have nothing to do with what your idea would be if you were in a relationship with me. You might do something you think is beautiful and loving, and I might think it's normal. It's just the way you treat everybody. But what makes me feel special may have nothing to do with that. So you need to be clear about what you want in a relationship, and do it in a loving way when you say things. You can also do this. I have a friend who does this on a first date. And what she says is, you know, I don't want to waste your time. So let me tell you where I'm at in my life right now. I'm, for example, maybe if you had kids and you only had a specific amount of time a week, you might say, well, you know, I'm really busy. I have this, this, and this, but I really want someone to go hang out with, to do some stuff with once a week, once every other week. I'd love to have, you know, some connection by, you know, every day. Maybe we talk on the phone or maybe we text every day. But perhaps you don't want them to move in. You're not looking for somebody more than that. Or maybe it's that time and you really want a significant other. You want someone, you want the baby and the house and this is from the woman's point of view, but maybe the man wants a family and he's looking for that right now. But make sure if you tell somebody that that's what you're looking for, that you say, I understand it might not be you, but that's what I'm looking for right now. And I hope it is you, because that would be really cool. That takes the pressure right off the person. So you don't have to have them go, is it you? And the intensity kind of calms down a little bit. And they go, oh, well, thanks for telling me. That's not what I'm looking for. I don't think I want that for another 5 or 10 years. And then you might go, okay. Well, I love friends. I'd love to have friends as well. If that's something that, you know, you want to hang out once in a while, and maybe you're a tennis player and I'm a tennis player, that'll be good, or a big hiker or something. And maybe you make a good friend and maybe it does turn into something more. But do be clear about what you want in any kind of relationship you can. And be careful if you're talking about a boss's relationship or someone who can fire you, that you're a little more careful on how you phrase it. But you can do it there as well. Now, in a friendship, it's a little different because you're not with them 24/7 as you are with other people. So maybe with a friend, you might find that they call constantly and they want to talk for 2 or 3 hours at a time. And maybe you're busy. Maybe you have a family or you have something happening. I was the one calling. So I'm aware of this. I wasn't the one with the family. I was the one that was calling and annoying my friend at hours that it wasn't convenient for her. But she was so kind, she wouldn't tell me. Unfortunately, she didn't set the boundaries, so I had no idea that that was a problem. And I didn't even think to ask, which shame on me. I should have because she did have little children. But if people set boundaries and say, I love talking to you. This is not, you always call at this specific time. I used to call on my way home from work, still kind of do for some things. And it would be like, this isn't really a convenient time for me because this is the time that I make dinner for the kids. They're all sitting around, we're talking, we're having our family time. And if you can say it, but I really want to be there for you, is there a better time for both of us so that we can actually talk? Would that work for you? And maybe that's what you do for that kind of person. And for heaven's sakes, if people listen to you and they hear you and they start reacting and doing what you ask, celebrate them, thank them for hearing you, and acknowledge that they have done something. You can say to your spouse or whoever that this is a loving relationship, thank you for making me feel heard and loved. When you did this for me, oh, it made so wonderful for me. And make sure that you don't go through life with regret because you didn't speak up. It really can trail after you your entire life because you might feel like a relationship got away from you. It didn't work because you didn't speak your truth. Or maybe you spoke your truth in a way that was the demanding and pleading sort of way that just didn't work for them. I read a book quite some time ago from Wayne Dyer, one that almost no one knows about because every time I mention it, everybody goes, you wrote that book? What is that? It's called The Gifts of Icus, Eykis, The Gifts of Icus. And he wrote a parable that was almost like a novel at the beginning. It was really kind of fun to read. It was light, very short. And it was about two different planets, Earth, and of course he picked, just to be funny, Uranus. And when he had an Earthling visit Uranus, it looked exactly the same as Earth. But on Uranus, every time someone felt guilt about the past or regret, if they felt enough of it, they would push a button and they could have a rewind, kind of like a do-over. They rewound their life back to that moment in time, and they could change what they chose to do. They could make something different happen. And then they could come back to the present, and they no longer had regret. But on Earth, we can't do that. We can't change the past that way. Energetically, we can, but we can't physically go back and change that pattern or that thing that we did or didn't do. So the only thing we can do is to learn from the past, to grow, to be a better person so that next time we do something different, the thing that we wish we'd done in the past. So whatever you're doing to set the boundaries, keep going for it. Try doing it from that loving place and doing it in a way that's something you would want to hear so that you don't have people getting upset with you. Promise me, no begging, no ultimatums, no demanding. Just say how you want to say it. Speaking your truth and setting clear boundaries can become your new normal. And you'll feel so much better because you've actually spoken your own truth. You said what you needed to say. And believe it or not, I'd say, well, this is a guess, but about 95% of the time I know of, things work out better than they ever did because there are clearer moments for everybody. You both understand what you want, and they tell you at that point what they want, and everything seems to fall into place so much better. You might also find that someone leaves, but most of the time when that happens, well, I'd say all the time, if you're honest with yourself, that person didn't really love you. They didn't really care about you in the way you wanted to be cared about. So if they didn't care about you, even if it's hard to deal with, probably for the best in the long run. Doesn't look that way sometimes to us. But looking back, hindsight, most of the time, I'd say all the time for me. Next time, I'm going to be talking about the opposite. I'm going to be talking about people, this one's me, that have so many walls and so many boundaries that no one can see you. You created such a huge wall that people can't connect with you. And I'm going to talk about how you can bring some of those walls down and maybe dump them all together. Thank you for joining me. I hope you'll click on the subscribe button if you're interested in hearing more of things like this, and the bell notification if you want to hear the next time that I put out a video. I'm Carol DeShane. If you'd like to check out my website, connecttojoy.com, which will be below this video. There you'll find things like energy space clearing for your home or your office so that you can feel more safe in your home and have maybe more prosperity in your business. You'll also find Mark Klein's energy recalibration and no-touch sessions that will help raise your vibration, shift away some of those symptoms you may have, the ascension symptoms that they talk about. And you also will find different types of coaching packages, all related to, one is about changing your money karma, another one's about being rich in every area of your life, rich in every way. And finally, the new True You package, which is all about connecting to Source and living from your joy. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.